Hey there, welcome back. Now let us work on our review test case. So the first thing I need to do is definitely I need to create a class. I'm going to call this as review test case. And this is going to take the API test case class. We are going to inherit that. Now we need to do a lot of things inside this. The first thing I need to do is I need to manually import a user. Now here there are different methods that I can use. I can either use force authentication to just log in as a random user or maybe log out as a random user. I can do that. But let us create everything sequentially in our setup. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize my setup function, and here we need to create a user first. So we can create a user, we can do everything else in the form of our stream as well as watch list. So I'm going to copy this one. Now this is our setup. We have created a user and then we have created a stream platform and movie. Why we are doing this? Because if you jump onto this model, to create a review we need a movie, and to create a movie we need a platform. So that's how the sequence of our project currently. So this is our basic setup, and now we can do all these tasks. The task related to create, update, delete, as well as access individual element. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test about the create method. So I'm going to use test underscore review underscore create, and this is going to take self, and here I need to pass data. So I'm going to take a new dictionary, and here I need to take data. Data will involve review user, so we already created this user. Then this will have rating, description, movie that we are going to review, so we have created a watch list, and then active, this will be updated automatically, these two fields. So let me quickly create them. Now that is done, what I need to do is I need to send a post request. So let me store the response inside my response variable, and here I am going to utilize my client and send a post request. So to which link I need to hit? I need to get into my URLs and I need to hit this particular link, and I'm going to call this as review create. Now this is our review create, but here if you look, we have this ID, particular ID, and this ID belongs to our movie ID. If you remember the link, we are accessing a movie / review create. So this is the movie that we created, our watch list, and we are writing a review for this particular watch list. So that means inside this reverse, add a comma, and this is going to be my argument, and I need to pass a tuple. This will be self.watchlist.id and then a comma. Okay, yeah, so one bracket is missing. This looks fine. So this is the part where we are sending our review request. This is the link, and then I need to pass this data. Okay, this looks fine. I hope you got the idea. Now the next thing we need to do is we just need to check the status code. So let me copy this here, and instead of this 200 okay, this should be 201 created. This is created by a user, so we are going to get 201. And this looks fine. Let me try to run this one. Yep, working fine. Now let me do one thing. Let me remove this test and then try to run this one. Now if you check earlier, they ran 10 tests, now only 9. So this is not working if we are not adding test underscore initially. So that is done. We are now able to send a request to create a review. Let us do one more interesting thing. Inside this, we have created a review for this movie, but let us create one more review because we have a restriction that we can only review a movie for one time, right? So what I'm going to do is let me try to do this again. Let me try to write this review again, and let's see what type of error we get. So I'm going to pass the same request but this time this should not work. We should get error here, and the reason is we are not allowed to create a review for the second time, right? So let me try to run this one and we should get an error. So yeah, we got an error, and while running for the second time, which is line number 98, we are getting a 400 and we are trying to match with 201. Yeah, this is right. We should add a 400. Why? Because we are only allowed to review for first one. And when we are trying to review it for the second time, we are going to get 400 bad request. Let me jump here and we should match status code with 400 bad request. Now if I run this one again, this is working fine. So that's how we are going to do. Now if you want to do assert equals to again here, we can do that. All we have to do is here I am trying to match the count like we did earlier. So we can either match the count or we can either match the title or whatever we want. So let me do that here itself. Now instead of this watch list, I am going to have this review field. Object count, this should be 1. And similarly, let me match this rating here. So this rating should be 5. Save this one, run this again. This is working fine. So here we have added 3 conditions, and here we are also testing if someone is trying to add a review for the second time, say for the same movie actually. So that's done. Our create is working fine. Now let's try to add a review as unauthenticated user. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new function, test underscore review create, and this should be unauthenticated. So unauthenticated. Now currently we are logged in as this particular user. If you see, this credential make us logged in with this token. Now here I need to log out. For this single request, I want to force my test case to log me out or try to log in as a different user. So here what I can use is I can use force authentication. But before that, let me copy this data here. And then instead of this current logged in user, I am going to use force login. So I'm going to use this self.client.force authenticate. So if we jump here into our testing, go to force authentication. Now this force authentication help us to log in as any other user, create any other user, or just pass none to just log in as none. So if I get back here, now user as none means we are not authenticated, we are not logged in. Now we are not logged in, so let me try to send a GET request like this. That means we are not logged in, not authenticated. And if I send a GET request here to my particular URL, to this particular movie with this data, I should get an error, and the error should be 401 unauthenticated. So let me try to run this one and see what error we get. You can see we got a failure as 1, and we got a 401 which is unauthenticated, line number 113. Yeah, this is line number 113, and here we should add unauthenticated. So we are now matching both of them. I hope you got the idea. So this was important as unauthenticated user, and this was as authenticated user. Now let us test the other one. So I'm going to talk about how to update a review, since we haven't discussed about put request till now. So let us do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to again create a test request. Here I'm going to take my review underscore update. Now once that is done, I need to pass my updated data. So I'm going to take this data. So if you see, check here, we created this review and currently it is 5-star, right? Let us try to add a 4-star. So let me update this. This is going to be 4-star, and let me use this updated. This is our movie, and change this to false. So we have updated this review completely. Once that is done, I need to send a put request. So let me copy this post request itself for now. Now here we have response. Instead of post, I need to send a put request and our link will be changed. Now we are trying to update a individual element. That means I need to focus to this particular URL of individual element. And this is going to be the URL, which is review-detail. This is my individual element. And here the value should be about this review ID. So I need to pass the review ID that I need to update, and I don't have a review ID actually. So what I need to do is I need to manually create a review first. Like here we manually created during our watch list itself, we manually created our watch list and then access them individually. So we need to do something here also in our review case, so we can access this in our update part itself. So what I am going to do is I am going to get here and manually create a review. Self.review, and then I'm going to manually create a review object, and here I need to pass my review user, rating, description, and then watch list. So this is going to be the data. I hope you got the idea. I passed review user, rating, description, as well as watch list. Okay, so this is the watch list. Now again I'm going to get an error, but let us do that and talk about error itself. So now here I need to use my review ID, and this is my updated data, and once I update I should get a message as HTTP 200 OK. This looks fine. Now pause this lecture and see what type of error should I get. I'm trying to give you a hint here. Okay, let me run this one and see what type of error I get. It's related to review itself. It's related to our review creation. Okay, let me run this one first. Now here you can see I got an error, line number 97. And if you jump here, this is our review create, and I got this error here. Now the thing is, we created this movie and we added a review itself here. So when we try to add a review for the first time, it's already there in our example, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a second movie. And I'm going to call this as watchlist2. And I'm going to pass watchlist2 here. Now this is separate and this watchlist is separate. This looks fine. Let me save this one. Try to run this one again. Okay, we got some error. Yep, now this case is not matching. Why? Because our count is not 1 now. Our count is 2 for the review. And how we created this review? The first review we created manually. The second review we created during this test case. So the count should be 2 now. And that is why tests are important to understand this thing. Great, we got an error again. And this time this error is on with review create itself, line number 101. Let me get back here. Definitely this get method is not valid now because we now have multiple objects. Great, remove this one. Let me run this one again. Now our tests are successful. So I hope you got the idea what we are trying to do. So what we did is we actually created a user. We set up a stream, a watchlist, watchlist2, as well as a manual review. Now why we created 2 watchlists? Because we are not allowed to send 2 reviews for the same watchlist. So for example, we created this watchlist2. We added this sample review so that we can access this individual review later on here. And with watchlist 1, what we are going to do is we are going to test out our other reviews. That means on watchlist 1, we need to test out this create method as well as this unauthenticated method. I hope you got the idea. Since we are not allowed to create 2 reviews on a single method or single movie, we created these 2 methods to test 2 different things. That is done. Our update is working. And here I can test out specific element name if I want. but that I will do later. Here we also need to do few other things. The first thing is to access all the review, and the second thing is to access individual element. So let me get back here and access all the reviews. So that is going to be my test underscore review and get my list. Now inside list I just need to follow a get request, and definitely I just need to pass the response. Great, so this is my client.getRequest and I need to send a request to this link to get all my reviews. So this is my review list, and here I need to pass this ID, which is going to be my movie ID, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a comma here, and I have passed my movie ID. Working great. The next thing is I just need to match the response. It should be 200, okay, because it's a get request. This looks fine. Let me copy this one again. Now I need to access individual element. So ind, I need to send a get request, but to which URL? This URL. This is going to be review detail. And this time the ID will be my review ID. And which review I'm going to access? This review. This particular review that we manually created. This looks fine. Save this one. Run this one again. No error, 14 tests working successfully. That's all for our current test case. I hope you got the idea what we are trying to do. Make sure to format this document properly according to your requirement. And here make sure to add some manual content so we can do all the test cases. Now the other thing is I hope you got the idea how to send a put request. Similarly, you can send a delete request, and you can also send a put request to your these watch list item, and you are going to get 403. But the next thing is make sure to add a delete request. Take it as a homework and add a delete request and see how it is going to work for your review test class. So that's all for the review. Only one thing is remaining, that is accessing user review, and we'll be discussing about this in the next lecture. I hope this lecture was helpful. Thank you for following, and I see you guys in the next one.